The pocket watch felt heavy in Marcus Chen's palm. Silver, worn. The inscription inside had faded years ago, but he knew every word by heart. He clicked it shut. 2:47 p.m., 28 minutes. The parking lot stretched wide and empty under the Phoenix sun. Heat shimmered off black asphalt like water that was never there. Under 7 degrees, the digital sign blinked. Marcus wiped sweat from his temple with the back of his hand and turned toward the company van. White Ford Transit, company logo on the side. Nothing special, nothing wrong. He pulled the clipboard from the passenger seat, scanning the equipment checklist with practiced efficiency. Hydraulic lift, check. Voltage tester, check. Safety harness. His pen moved down the list in steady strokes, each item accounted for every detail in its place. That was how Marcus lived now. Every minute measured, every task assigned its proper time. Wake at 5:45. Coffee by 6 hours. Leave by 6:30. No room for error. No space for surprise, because surprise cost things he could not afford to lose. The sound of tires on gravel made him look up. A black Crown Victoria rolled into the lot. Unmarked. But Marcus knew that shape, that posture. You didn't spend 9 years as a U.S. Marshal without learning to recognize authority in motion. The engine cut. The door opened. Detective Sarah Walsh stepped out into the heat. Blonde hair pulled back tight. White shirt pressed crisp despite the temperature. Her hand rested near her holster fingers, relaxed but ready. She walked toward him with the kind of certainty that came from a decade of wearing a badge. "Sir, step away from the vehicle." Marcus turned to face her. He didn't move toward the van. He didn't move away. He simply stood still, hands visible, posture neutral. "This is a company van," he said quietly. "I work here. I need to see some ID." Marcus reached for his back pocket. Slowly, deliberately. The way a man moves when he knows sudden gestures get people shot. Sarah noticed. Her eyes tracked his hand, but her own stayed steady. He handed over his license and employee badge. She studied them both, then keyed her radio. 7 Adam 22 running a check on Arizona license. While she waited, Marcus glanced at his watch again. 2:51 p.m. The radio crackled, static. Then a voice flat and mechanical. "Vehicle registration shows a mismatch. Advise proceed with caution." Sarah's jaw tightened. "Sir, I need you to turn around and place your hands behind your back." The world slowed. Marcus looked at her. Really looked. She was younger than him by a few years. Her uniform was perfect. Her procedure was perfect. Everything about her screamed by the book, and the book Marcus knew didn't care about context. "I need to make a call by 3:15, he said. "You can call from the station." "That will be too late." Something flickered in her eyes. Curiosity, maybe uncertainty. But it passed like a shadow and the wall came back up. "Turn around, now." Marcus complied. He turned. He put his hands behind his back. He felt the metal cuffs close around his wrists with that familiar click that echoed in empty spaces. "You have the right to remain silent." The words washed over him. He'd heard them before. Said them before. Back when he wore a different badge and a different life. As Sarah guided him toward the patrol car, his sleeve pulled up. Just an inch. Just enough. The tattoo showed. Faded blue ink on his left forearm. An eagle wing spread bisected by a single line. Below it, small letters USMS SOG. Sarah's hand paused on his arm. Her eyes locked on the ink. But she said nothing. The parking lot had gathered an audience now. Phones raised, cameras recording. Witness to a moment that would ripple outward in ways neither of them could see yet. Marcus heard something hit the ground behind him. a soft metallic sound against a hot asphalt. His pocket watch. It had slipped free when she cuffed him. He couldn't turn to see it, couldn't pick it up. He could only hear it. The glass face cracking, the silver case scraping concrete, time breaking apart in the Arizona heat. Sarah opened the back door of her patrol car. Marcus bent his head and climbed inside. The door shut, the locks engaged. Through the window, he watched the parking lot recede. And somewhere on the asphalt under the burning sun, a pocket watch lay forgotten, its hands still moving, still counting down, still ticking toward 3:15. If you've ever believed that one moment can change everything, or that justice sometimes wears the wrong face, drop a comment below. Subscribe to see what happens when that broken watch becomes the key to something bigger. Hit like if you want to know what 3:15 really means. The holding room at Phoenix PD smelled like disinfectant and stale coffee. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead. Marcus sat on a metal bench, hands still cuffed behind his back, and stared at the clock on the wall. 3:14 p.m., 1 minute. His jaw clenched. Muscle memory. The only tell he allowed himself. 3:15. Somewhere across the city, a yellow school bus was pulling up to a curb. A 10-year-old girl with dark hair and her mother's eyes was stepping off, looking for a gray Honda Civic that was always there, always on time. Except today. Marcus closed his eyes. The booking officer opened the door. "All right, Chen, let's process you." They moved him to a different room. Brighter lights. Camera mounted in the corner. The officer was young, maybe 25, with the mechanical efficiency of someone who'd done this 1,000 times. "Empty your pockets, everything on the table." Marcus stood. The officer unlocked one cuff, then the other. Marcus rubbed his wrists and pulled items from his pockets, wallet, keys. $47 in cash, a library card with a coffee stain in one corner. No pocket watch. That was still out there, broken on hot asphalt. The officer logged each item, pen scratching across the form. Then he looked up. "Roll up your sleeves." Marcus did, left arm first. The tattoo showed fully now, the eagle, the vertical line, the letters beneath USMS SOG. The officer's pen was stopped mid-stroke. "What's this?" "Old ink," Marcus said, "from another life." The young officer stared at it for a moment longer, then shrugged and continued writing. Just another detail in a file that would be closed by dinner. But the image stayed in the system, photographed, cataloged, uploaded to a database that people like Sergeant Tommy Rivera still had access to. Rivera was 45 with gray starting at his temples, and the kind of lines around his eyes that came from seeing too much. He'd been with Phoenix PD for 23 years, long enough to remember things other people forgot. He was passing through the bullpen when he saw the booking photo on Sarah Walsh's desk. She wasn't there, probably filing paperwork, but the image was pulled up on her screen. Rivera stopped. He leaned closer. That tattoo. He'd seen it once before, maybe 15 years ago. A joint task force meeting, federal agents, the kind who didn't talk about what they did or where they'd been. U.S. Marshals Special Operations Group. Deep cover fugitive apprehension. The kind of work that didn't make the news because it wasn't supposed to exist. Men who spent years undercover with no backup and no guarantee they'd come home. You didn't get that ink unless you'd earned it. Rivera pulled out his phone and made a call. Sarah Walsh sat in her patrol car outside the station writing her report. The arrest had been clean. Textbook, vehicle flag in the system, subject cooperative. No use of force. Everything by procedure. So why did her hands feel unsteady on the keyboard? She kept seeing his face, that moment when he asked about the phone call, the quiet desperation in his voice, I need to make a call by 3:15. Why 3:15? What was so important about that specific time? Sarah shook her head and finished the report. She submitted it electronically and headed back inside. Rivera was waiting by her desk. "You brought in Marcus Chen," he said. Not a question. "Vehicle registration mismatch," Sarah replied. "The system flagged it." "Yeah, I saw the report." Rivera crossed his arms. "You see his ink?" Sarah hesitated. "The tattoo, that's not just a tattoo, Walsh. That's U.S. Marshals SOG, Special Operations Group, deep cover work, the real deal." Sarah felt something cold settle in her chest. "He's law enforcement. Was, retired or resigned, I'd guess. But people don't leave that unit unless something major happened." Rivera paused. "You might want to pull his full jacket, the real one, not just the booking sheet." Sarah watched him walk away. Then she turned to her computer and opened the records database. Marcus Chen's file loaded slowly. The basic information came first. Age 42. Current address in Phoenix. Employed at SolarTech Industries as a facilities supervisor. 11 years at the same company. No criminal record, no arrests, no complaints. Then the older entries appeared. U.S. Marshal, 2007 to 2016. 9 years of service. 3 commendations. Assignments redacted. Final posting. Special Operations Group Fugitive Apprehension. Resignation voluntary. Date March 14, 2016. Sarah scrolled further. Personal information next of kin. Spouse Margaret Chen, deceased. March 12, 2016. Cause pancreatic cancer. Daughter Emma Chen. Age 10. Sarah stopped reading. She sat back in her chair and stared at the screen until the words blurred. His wife had died 9 years ago, and he'd left federal service 2 days later because he had a daughter to raise alone. Sarah opened another database. Employment records. She found a note from 3 years ago. Subject declined transfer to corporate headquarters in Denver. Offered salary increase of $85,000. Reason cited daughter's school schedule is non-negotiable. Another note from last year. Subject declined enrollment in management training program. Reason cited unable to commit to evening hours. Every opportunity, every promotion, every advancement he'd been offered Marcus Chen had turned down. Not because he lacked ambition, because something else came first. Sarah pulled up her phone and searched for Emma Chen's school. Desert Vista Elementary. Dismissal time, 3:15 p.m. The cold feeling in her chest spread. She picked up her desk phone and dialed Marcus's number. It rang 4 times, then went to voicemail. "Mr. Chen, this is Detective Walsh. I'd like to speak with you about today's incident. Please call me back at your earliest convenience." She hung up and sat in the quiet. Sarah left the station at 6:00 p.m. She drove home on autopilot, her mind replaying the arrest, the parking lot, the handcuffs, his face when she denied the phone call. Her apartment was small, neat, everything in its place. She dropped her keys in the bowl by the door and went straight to the kitchen. Poured 2 fingers of whiskey into a glass. Didn't drink it. She opened her laptop instead. The video was already everywhere. Phoenix detective arrests innocent man. 40,000 views. Comments in the hundreds. Sarah clicked play. The footage was shaky, filmed from maybe 30 feet away, but the audio was clear. "Sir, step away from the vehicle." That was her voice, flat, authoritative, certain. "This is a company van. I work here." Marcus's voice, calm, controlled. The video showed her approaching, showed him complying, showed the handcuffs going on. Then it showed the moment he spoke. "I need to make a call by 3:15. And her response, "You can call from the station." That will be too late. The camera zoomed in slightly, caught his face, the quiet desperation she'd seen but chosen to ignore. Sarah paused the video. She scrolled to the comments. Another cop on a power trip. He has a daughter waiting for him. This is why people don't trust police anymore. She didn't even listen, just followed orders like a robot. Sarah closed the laptop. She sat in the dark and thought about Emma Chen, 10 years old, standing on a curb, waiting for a father who never came. Because Sarah had decided protocol mattered more than a phone call. Her phone buzzed. Text message from her lieutenant. "See me first thing tomorrow. We need to talk about the Chen arrest." Sarah set the phone down and finally drank the whiskey. It burned. It didn't help. She didn't sleep that night. Lieutenant Harold Vance's office was on the 3rd floor. Corner view. Framed commendations on the wall. A desk that cost more than Sarah's monthly rent. Vance was 55. Silver hair combed back. Expensive suit under his uniform jacket. He gestured to the chair across from his desk. "Sit." Sarah sat. Vance folded his hands. "The Chen arrest. Walk me through it." "I received a dispatch about a vehicle match, White Ford Transit. I located the vehicle and the subject, ran a registration check. System came back with a flag. I proceeded with detention." "By the book." "Yes, sir." Vance leaned back. "So, why is Internal Affairs opening a review?" Sarah's stomach dropped. "Sir, civilian complaint. Filed yesterday evening, unnecessary detention. Failure to verify information before escalation. Public humiliation without probable cause. The system flagged the vehicle. I know it did." Vance's voice was cold. "I'm the one who entered the flag." Silence. Sarah stared at him. "You personally flagged that vehicle as part of a routine audit, standard procedure. But the vehicle wasn't stolen. Clerical error, it happens." Vance stood and walked to the window. "Here's what's going to happen, Detective. IA will conduct their review. You will cooperate fully. You will not contact Marcus Chen. You will not discuss this case with anyone outside official channels, and you will not make this department look bad. Are we clear?" "Yes, sir." "Good." He turned back to face her. "This is a learning opportunity, Walsh. Sometimes good police work still results in bad optics. The key is managing the narrative." Sarah stood. "Is that all, sir?" "That's all." She left his office and went straight to the restroom, locked herself in a stall, pressed her palms against the cold metal door, and breathed. Vance had entered the flag. Personally. Why would a lieutenant personally flag a random vehicle? She pulled herself together and returned to her desk. Tried to work. Couldn't focus. At lunch, Rivera appeared with a sandwich and a folder. "Eat," he said. "Then look at this." Sarah unwrapped the sandwich without tasting it. Rivera slid the folder across. "What is this? Something I've been tracking for 6 months." He lowered his voice. "Vehicle flags, 14 of them, all entered manually, all by the same person." Sarah opened the folder. Spreadsheet, dates, officers involved, vehicle descriptions, tow companies. Her name was on one line. So were 6 other officers, but the person who entered every single flag was the same. Captain Derek Blake. Sarah looked up. "Blake, he's been running a side operation, works with a tow company. They split the impound fees, small scale, stays under audit thresholds, but it adds up. That's fraud." "Yeah." Rivera leaned closer. "And you're the one on camera making the arrest. You're the face of this. If it goes public and Blake goes down, he'll make sure you go down with him. Why are you telling me this? Because you're a good cop, Walsh, and good cops shouldn't take the fall for dirty ones." He tapped the folder. But that's your call. You can file a report, or you can keep your head down and hope it blows over." He left. Sarah sat alone with the folder. She opened it again, read every entry, saw the pattern, saw the corruption. Then she saw the audio files, recorded phone calls. Rivera must have gotten them through some back channel. Probably illegal, definitely inadmissible in court. But they were there. She plugged in headphones and clicked play. Blake's voice. Unmistakable. "Just make sure the Vian discrepancy shows up before the officer runs the plate. I need it to look legitimate." Another voice. Male. Older. "And the fee split, same as always. 60-40. You get the tow, I get the paperwork." "What about the cops?" "They don't know anything. They're just doing their jobs." Sarah ripped the headphones out. She ran to the bathroom and vomited. When she came back, the folder was still on her desk. Evidence of a system that had used her, manipulated her, made her the instrument of someone else's greed. She picked up her phone, stared at it, put it down, picked it up again. She had two choices: report it and destroy her career, or bury it and live with what she'd done. Sarah looked at the folder. Then she looked at the photograph still open on her computer screen. Marcus Chen, badge number tattooed into his skin. A man who'd spent 9 years protecting people. And she'd handcuffed him in a parking lot because her lieutenant needed to make a few $1,000s. Sarah opened a new document and began typing. A statement. Complete. Detailed. True. She didn't know what would happen when she submitted it. She only knew that staying silent was no longer something she could live with. At 3:15 p.m. that day, somewhere across Phoenix, Emma Chen waited on a curb, and for the first time in 9 years her father wasn't there. Sarah stared at the statement on her screen for 20 minutes before saving it. Her finger hovered over the submit button. She didn't click it, not yet. Instead, she printed a copy and slid it into her desk drawer. Then she grabbed her jacket and walked to the 3rd floor. Vance's office door was closed. Light showed underneath. Sarah knocked twice. "Come in." She opened the door. Vance looked up from his paperwork, reading glasses perched on his nose. "Detective, I thought we were done for the day. I have questions about the Chen arrest." Vance removed his glasses slowly. "I told you not to discuss that case." "I'm discussing it with you, sir." Sarah closed the door behind her. "The vehicle flag. You said it was a routine audit." "That's correct. How many vehicles do you personally flag in a typical audit?" Vance's expression didn't change. "As many as necessary." "And how often do those flags turn out to be clerical errors?" "Occasionally. The system isn't perfect." Sarah pulled out her phone, opened her notes. "I pulled the records. You've personally flagged 14 vehicles in the past 6 months. 13 of them were false positives. That's a 93% error rate." "Your point? My point is that's not an audit. That's a pattern." The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Vance stood. He was taller than Sarah by 4 inches. He used it. "Detective Walsh, I'm going to say this once. You're young. You're ambitious. You want to make a name for yourself. I understand that. But you need to be very careful about the accusations you make and who you make them against." Sarah held her ground. "I'm not making accusations, sir. I'm asking questions." "No." Vance stepped closer. "You're questioning my judgment, my integrity, my 27 years of service to this department, over a single arrest that you executed perfectly according to procedure. Procedure that was based on false information, clerical error, entered manually, by you." Vance smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. "You know what your problem is, Walsh. You think the rules exist to find truth. They don't. The rules exist to maintain order, to protect the system, Sometimes that system makes mistakes. Sometimes good people get caught in those mistakes. But the system corrects itself, always has, always will. And Marcus Chen, was he just a mistake? Marcus Chen was released within 4 hours. No charges filed, no harm done. Except the video and the humiliation, and his daughter waiting alone on a street corner. Vance picked up a pen from his desk, clicked it once, twice. His daughter, yes. I read about that in your report. Very thorough work, by the way, very detailed. He set the pen down. Tell me something, Detective. When you wrote that report, did you mention that you denied his request for a phone call? Sarah's jaw tightened. Because that's in there too. Subject requested phone call at 2:53 p.m. Request denied per standard booking procedure. Your words, your decision. So, if we're talking about little girls waiting on street corners, maybe we should start with the person who actually had the power to prevent that. The words hit like a fist to the stomach. Now. Vance returned to his chair. The IA review is happening whether either of us likes it. My advice is to focus on defending your own actions instead of inventing conspiracies about mine. Because right now, you're the one who's going to be sitting in that hearing room, not me. Sarah turned toward the door. Oh, and Detective, she stopped. If I were you, I'd be very careful about what files you access and what theories you develop. Harassment of a superior officer is a fireable offense, and false accusations. He smiled again. Those can end careers permanently. Sarah left without another word. She made it to her car before her hands started shaking. The coffee shop on 7th Avenue had bad lighting and worse coffee, but it was far enough from the station that other cops didn't go there. Sarah sat in a corner booth, untouched cup going cold in front of her. Rivera slid into the seat across from her. You look like hell. I confronted Vance. Rivera closed his eyes. Jesus, Walsh. He threatened me. Of course he threatened you. What did you think would happen? Rivera leaned forward. This is exactly why I gave you the folder, so you could make a smart play. File the report through proper channels. Let IA handle it. Not go charging into his office like some rookie. He's going to bury me. Yeah, probably. Rivera signaled the waitress for coffee. Unless you bury him first. Sarah looked up. What? You've got the evidence, you've got the pattern, you've got recorded phone calls. You take that to IA yourself, you control the narrative. You go in as the whistleblower, not the scapegoat. And my career might survive, might not. The waitress brought coffee. Rivera took a sip and grimaced. But at least you'd be able to look at yourself in the mirror. Sarah stared at her reflection in the window. The woman looking back seemed like a stranger. There's a man out there, she said quietly, who spent 9 years protecting people, who lost his wife, who gave up everything to raise his daughter. And I handcuffed him in public because my lieutenant needed to hit a quota for his fraud scheme. You didn't know. I should have known, he told me. He said he needed to make a call. He said it would be too late. And I didn't listen because procedure was more important than paying attention to the human being standing in front of me. Rivera said nothing. Sarah finally picked up her coffee, took a drink. It was cold, bitter. She drank it anyway. What time is the IA meeting? Tomorrow, 9 a.m. Then I need to write a new statement. Already got one started. Yeah. Then finish it. Rivera stood, dropped a 5 on the table. And Walsh, whatever happens tomorrow, you're doing the right thing. After he left, Sarah sat alone in the booth until the waitress asked her to leave. She went home, opened her laptop, read what she'd written. Then she deleted it and started over. This time, she didn't write to protect herself. She wrote to tell the truth. All of it. The Internal Affairs hearing room was exactly what Sarah expected. Gray walls, long table, recording equipment, 3 senior officers and a civilian oversight representative. And her. Sarah sat in a metal chair, hands folded on the table in front of her. Her union rep sat beside her. An attorney she'd hired that morning sat on her other side. Across the room, a court reporter's fingers hovered over her stenography machine. Sergeant Morrison from IA opened a folder. Detective Walsh, thank you for meeting with us. For the record, this is a preliminary review of Incident Report 2024-70783, the detention of Marcus Chen on November 14th. You understand you're here voluntarily, and anything you say may be used in subsequent proceedings. I understand. Good. Morrison looked at his notes. Walk us through the arrest, start to finish. Sarah took a breath. I received a dispatch call at approximately 2:45 p.m. regarding a suspicious individual near a vehicle matching the description of a reported stolen van. I located the subject and the vehicle at an industrial lot off Grand Avenue. I approached and identified myself. The subject was cooperative. I requested identification and ran a registration check. And the check came back flagged, yes. The system showed a VIN mismatch. At that point, what was your assessment? That there was probable cause to detain the subject pending further investigation? Morrison made a note. Did the subject resist? No, he was completely cooperative. Did he say anything unusual during the detention? Sarah hesitated. He asked to make a phone call, said he needed to do it by 3:15. And you denied that request? Yes. Standard procedure is to allow phone calls after booking, not before. Morrison nodded. So far, everything you've described sounds like textbook police work. Why are we here, Detective? This was it. Sarah looked at her union rep. He gave a small nod. She looked at her attorney. No expression. She looked back at Morrison. Because the vehicle flag was fraudulent. The room went silent. Morrison set down his pen. Explain. The flag was entered manually into the system by Lieutenant Harold Vance. It wasn't generated by any automated process. It was deliberate, and it was false. The civilian Rep A leaned forward. That's a serious allegation, Detective. I know. Do you have evidence to support it? Sarah reached into her bag and pulled out a USB drive, slid it across the table. This contains records of 14 similar incidents over the past 6 months. All vehicle flags entered manually by Lieutenant Vance. All resulting in detentions and impounds. All false positives. It also contains bank records showing regular deposits to Vance's personal account from Desert Tow and Recovery. And it contains recorded phone conversations between Vance and the owner of that company discussing how to generate false flags in the system. Morrison picked up the drive like it might explode. Where did you get this? A confidential source within the department. That's not going to be admissible. I know, but it's true. And if you investigate, you'll find it all checks out. One of the other officers, a Captain Sarah didn't know, spoke up. Detective Walsh, do you understand what you're doing right now? You're accusing a lieutenant of criminal conduct. You're implicating yourself as an unwitting participant in a fraud scheme. You're essentially ending your career in this room. I understand. Then why are you doing this? Sarah thought about Marcus Chen, about his daughter, about the pocket watch breaking on hot asphalt. Because a man asked me for a phone call and I denied it. Because I was so focused on following procedure that I didn't stop to think whether the procedure was right. Because the system I trusted used me to hurt someone who didn't deserve it. She paused. And because if I stay silent, I'm complicit. and I can't live with that. Morrison inserted the USB into his laptop, started opening files. His expression changed. He looked at the civilian rep. We need to suspend this hearing and open a criminal investigation. Agreed. Morrison turned back to Sarah. Detective Walsh, you're going to need to make yourself available for further questioning. Potentially for weeks. Your testimony will likely be required in multiple proceedings. Are you prepared for that? Yes. And you understand that if Lieutenant Vance is charged, he will likely claim you're fabricating evidence to cover your own misconduct. I understand. All right. Morrison closed his laptop. We're done here for now. But Detective, one more question. Sir, have you had any contact with Marcus Chen since the arrest? I called him once, left a voicemail. He didn't return it. Good. Don't contact him again. If this goes to trial, any communication could be seen as witness tampering. Sarah nodded. The hearing adjourned. As she gathered her things, the civilian rep approached. Detective Walsh, I've been doing this for 12 years. I've seen a lot of officers sit in that chair. Most of them are trying to save their own ass. You just lit yours on fire to tell the truth. She paused. That took guts. Or stupidity. Maybe both. The woman smiled slightly. Either way, you did the right thing. Sarah left the building and sat in her car for 20 minutes before starting the engine. Her phone rang. Unknown number, she answered. Walsh. Detective Walsh, this is Channel 7 News. We'd like to interview you about the Marcus Chen arrest and the allegations against Lieutenant Vance. Would you be available this afternoon? No comment. She hung up. The phone rang again. Different number, same request. She turned it off. The next 3 weeks were a blur. IA opened a full investigation into Vance. The DA's office got involved. Federal authorities started looking into whether the fraud crossed state lines. And Sarah became the story. Phoenix detective exposes corruption. Whistleblower cop risks career for justice. Walsh testimony could bring down veteran lieutenant. Her mailbox filled with letters. Some called her a hero, some called her a traitor. Most were from people she'd never met who had opinions about what kind of cop she should be. She stopped reading them. She stopped watching the news. She stopped answering her phone. 2 of her colleagues still talked to her. Everyone else avoided eye contact in the hallways. One morning, she found a note taped to her locker. Rats get what they deserve. She threw it away and kept walking. The department put her on administrative leave pending the outcome of the investigation. Paid, but effectively suspended. She surrendered her badge and service weapon. When she left the station that day, she didn't know if she'd ever come back. Her apartment felt smaller every day, quieter, like the walls were closing in. She tried to work out, couldn't focus, tried to read. Words slid past without meaning. Tried to sleep. Lay awake until dawn. 3 weeks after her testimony, her phone buzzed. Text message, unknown number. She almost deleted it, but something made her open it. Thank you, MC. Sarah stared at the screen. Marcus. She typed out a response. I'm sorry for everything. Her finger hovered over send. She deleted it, typed again. I should have listened. Delete. I hope your daughter is okay. Delete. Finally, she just typed, I'm sorry. But she didn't send it. She couldn't. What words could possibly matter to a man whose life she'd temporarily destroyed? Sarah set the phone down and walked to her window. Outside, Phoenix glowed in the late afternoon light. Golden. Beautiful. Indifferent. Somewhere out there, Marcus Chen was picking up his daughter from school. On time, like always. And Sarah was here, alone. With nothing but the wreckage of a career she'd spent 12 years building, and the uncertain hope that maybe, just maybe, doing the right thing had actually meant something. Her phone buzzed again. She picked it up. Another text. Same number. What you did took courage. Sarah's vision blurred. She typed back, finally. It took too long. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Then, better late than never. Sarah sat on her couch and cried for the first time since the arrest. Not because she regretted her choice, but because, for the first time in weeks, she felt like maybe she could live with it. The news broke on a Tuesday morning. Former Phoenix Police Lieutenant Harold Vance arrested on fraud charges. Sarah watched it on her laptop from her couch, coffee going cold beside her. The same black coffee she'd been drinking every morning since the hearing. No sugar, no cream, just bitter and dark. The news anchor's voice was professional, detached. Vance faces 14 counts of insurance fraud, 3 counts of official misconduct, and 1 count of obstruction of justice. The charges stem from a scheme involving false vehicle reports and illegal kickbacks from a local towing company. If convicted, Vance could face up to 20 years in prison. The screen showed footage of Vance being led from the courthouse in handcuffs. His expensive suit, his silver hair, his face blank and hard. Sarah turned off the laptop. She should have felt something. Victory, relief, vindication. But she just felt tired. Her phone rang. Rivera. You watching? I was. Good work, Walsh. It's not over yet. Close enough. DA's office is confident. They've got the recordings, the bank records, all 14 victims willing to testify. Vance is done. Rivera paused. How are you holding up? Fine. Liar. Sarah almost smiled. I'm hanging in there. Department wants you back. Captain Morrison called me this morning. They're offering you a position in community relations. Not a demotion, technically, just different. Community relations. Teaching kids about their rights, working with neighborhood groups, building trust between civilians and police. Rivera's voice softened. It's good work, Sarah. Important work, and after what you did, people will listen to you. I'll think about it. Don't think too long. Offer expires Friday. After they hung up, Sarah sat in silence. Community relations. A lateral move that everyone would know was really a punishment. The department's way of saying we appreciate your honesty, but we don't want you anywhere near real police work. But maybe that was okay. Maybe she didn't want to be near it either. 3 weeks passed before Sarah saw Marcus again. Not in person, just glimpses. Accidental encounters in a city of 5 million people that somehow felt too small. She saw him once at a grocery store. Produce section. He was examining avocados with the same careful attention he probably gave everything. She turned down a different aisle before he could see her. Another time, she was stopped at a red light and saw a gray Honda Civic 3 cars ahead. Marcus behind the wheel. A small figure in the passenger seat. Dark hair. 10 years old. Emma. The light turned green. They drove in different directions. Sarah told herself it was better this way, that he'd said thank you and that was enough, that she didn't deserve more than that. But the texts kept coming, not often, maybe once a week. Vance's arraignment is tomorrow. I saw the news about your testimony. That was brave. Emma asked about you today. That last one made Sarah stop breathing. She stared at the message for 10 minutes before typing back, what did you tell her? 3 dots. Then the truth. That you made a mistake and then fixed it. What did she say? She said everyone makes mistakes. Her mom used to tell her that. Sarah set the phone down carefully like it might break. The next message came 2 days later. There's a place I go sometimes when I need to think. Desert Botanical Garden. Tuesday evenings are quiet if you wanted to talk. No pressure. Sarah read it 5 times. Then she typed, what time? Sunset. Tuesday came slow and fast at the same time. Sarah changed clothes 3 times. Jeans and a t-shirt felt too casual. Slacks and a blouse felt too formal. She finally settled on jeans and a nicer shirt. No uniform, no badge, just herself. She arrived at the garden at 5:47 p.m., paid admission, walked the paths without seeing them. The garden was beautiful in that stark desert way. Cacti and succulents arranged in careful patterns, gravel paths winding between rocks and planted beds, the smell of creosote and dust. She found a bench overlooking the valley. Phoenix sprawled below buildings, catching the last light. The sky was already turning orange at the edges. Sunset in Phoenix wasn't gentle. It was violent and gorgeous, the whole sky burning. Sarah sat and waited, footsteps on gravel behind her. She didn't turn around. "You came," Marcus said. "You invited me." "I wasn't sure you would. Neither was I." Marcus walked around the bench and sat down. Not close. Left 3 feet of space between them. He wore jeans and a work shirt, sleeves rolled to his elbows, the tattoo visible. They sat in silence for a while, watching the sky change colors. "I fixed it," Marcus said finally. "Fixed what?" He reached into his pocket and pulled out the silver pocket watch. Held it up so she could see. The crack in the glass was gone, the case polished. It looked almost new. "The jeweler said it was lucky I brought it in when I did. Another week and the mechanism would have been ruined." Sarah stared at it. "I didn't know you'd gone back for it." "Rivera brought it to me. Said he found it in the evidence locker." Marcus opened the watch. The hands moved smoothly. "My wife gave this to me the day Emma was born. Said I'd never have an excuse to be late again. You kept the promise. For 10 years, until that Thursday." Sarah's throat tightened. "Marcus, Let me finish." His voice was gentle but firm. "Emma waited 47 minutes that day, alone on the curb. A teacher finally noticed and called the school office. They called me at the station. By the time I got released and picked her up, it was almost 5 o'clock. He paused. The watch ticked in his hand. She didn't cry. She just looked at me and asked if I'd stopped loving her, because that's what happened with her mom. Her mom left, and in Emma's mind, people who love you don't leave you waiting." Sarah felt tears on her face. She didn't wipe them away. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm so sorry." "I know you are." Marcus closed the watch with a soft click. "But Sarah, you testified. You gave up everything to tell the truth. Vance is going to prison. Those other 13 people he set up, they're getting justice because of you. It doesn't erase what I did. No, but it shows who you are when it matters." He turned to face her. "You could have stayed quiet, protected yourself. Let the system bury it. Most people would have. I couldn't live with that." "Exactly." Marcus held up the watch again. "You know what the inscription says, time is the only gift that matters. Margaret wrote that. She meant that being present, being there when people need you, that's what love is." He looked at Sarah directly. His eyes were dark brown, tired, kind. "You gave me back my time. My daughter trusts me again. That's not nothing. What did you tell her about me? The truth? That you made a mistake, that you owned it, that you did everything you could to make it right." He smiled slightly. "She's 10. She understands mistakes better than most adults. Does she hate me? No. She's curious about you. Keeps asking questions." Sarah wiped her eyes. "What kind of questions?" "If you're nice, if you like reading, if you have kids of your own." Marcus slipped the watch back in his pocket. "I think she wants to meet you. Eventually, when you're ready. I don't know if I'll ever be ready. That's okay too. They sat quietly as the sun dropped lower. The sky went from orange to red to purple. "Can I ask you something?" Sarah said. "Yeah." "Why did you text me after everything? Why reach out?" Marcus considered the question. "Because I spent 9 years in a job where I had to see the worst in people. Had to assume everyone was dangerous until proven otherwise. It wore me down. Made me hard." He picked at a thread on his jeans. "When Margaret died, I promised myself I wouldn't become that person. I'd give people a second chance, try to see the good, even in someone who handcuffed you in public, especially in someone who had the courage to admit they were wrong." He looked at her. "You didn't have to do what you did, Sarah. You chose to. That matters." The sun touched the horizon. The whole valley glowed. Sarah took a breath. "I accepted the job. Community relations. I start Monday. That's good. Is it everyone knows it's basically exile? They're putting me somewhere I can't do any damage. Or maybe they're putting you somewhere you can do the most good." Marcus stood stretched. "Teaching kids about their rights, building trust, that's real police work, the kind that actually changes things." He started walking down the path, stopped, turned back. "We're here most Tuesday evenings, Emma and I. She likes the butterfly pavilion." He gestured vaguely toward the eastern section of the garden. "If you wanted to come by sometime, no pressure, just if you wanted." Sarah nodded, couldn't speak. Marcus gave a small wave and walked away. His footsteps faded on the gravel. Sarah sat until the stars came out. The next Tuesday, Sarah went back to the garden. She told herself she was just walking, enjoying the evening, not looking for anyone. But she found herself near the butterfly pavilion at sunset. Emma Chen was inside. Small for 10, with long dark hair and a ponytail. She wore a purple t-shirt with a cat on it and jeans with grass stains on the knees. She was watching a butterfly land on a flower, her face lit with pure concentration. Marcus stood a few feet away, letting her explore. He saw Sarah first, gave a slight nod. Sarah nodded back, stayed outside the pavilion, watching through the glass. Emma looked up, saw her father's gaze, and followed it to Sarah. The girl studied her for a long moment, then walked to the door and pushed it open. "You're the detective," Emma said, not a question. I'm just Sarah now. Dad said you made a mistake, but you fixed it. I tried to." Emma tilted her head. "He also said you made him late picking me up." Sarah's stomach dropped. "Yes, I did, and I'm very sorry about that." "It's okay," he explained why. Emma glanced back at her father, then at Sarah. "Do you like butterflies?" Yes, I do." "Come look at this one. It's called a painted lady." Emma grabbed Sarah's hand without hesitation and pulled her into the pavilion. Her hand was small and warm and completely trusting. They spent 20 minutes looking at butterflies. Emma explained each species with the encyclopedic knowledge of a 10-year-old who'd fallen in love with the subject. Sarah listened and asked questions and tried not to cry. Marcus watched from a bench, the pocket watch in his hand, a slight smile on his face. When it was time to leave, Emma hugged Sarah goodbye. Just wrapped her arms around Sarah's waist and squeezed. "You can come back next week if you want," Emma said. "We're always here on Tuesdays." After they left, Sarah sat on the bench Marcus had occupied. The wood was still warm. She pulled out her phone and sent a text. "Thank you for that." The response came quickly. "She liked you." "I liked her too." "Same time next week," Sarah smiled. "Yes." The weeks developed a rhythm after that. Tuesday evenings at the garden. Sometimes just Sarah and Marcus talking while Emma explored. Sometimes all three of them looking at plants and insects and the way light caught on cactus spines. They didn't talk about the arrest much. It sat between them like furniture present, but no longer the focus. Instead, they talked about work, about Emma's school, about books and music and the peculiar loneliness of living in a city full of people. Marcus told her about his years as a marshal, the cases he could talk about and the ones he couldn't, the toll it took pretending to be someone else for months at a time. Sarah told him about her father, also, a cop who'd died when she was 16, about how she'd joined the force to honor him, but somewhere along the way forgot to question whether the system he'd believed in actually worked. "He would have hated what I did," she said one evening, testifying against a superior officer. "He believed in the chain of command above everything." Would he have hated what Vance did? Probably. But he would have said it wasn't my place to expose it. Marcus nodded. "My father was military. Same mindset. Follow orders, don't ask questions." He paused. "Took me years to realize that following orders doesn't absolve you of responsibility for what those orders make you do." They sat in comfortable silence until Emma called them over to see a hummingbird. 6 weeks after their first meeting at the garden, Marcus invited Sarah to dinner. "Nothing fancy," he said. "Just Emma and me. We're making spaghetti. Emma insists on cooking, so be prepared for creative interpretations of the recipe." Sarah almost said no. It felt too big, too fast. But Emma was standing right there looking hopeful, and Sarah found she couldn't disappoint her. "What time?" 6:30. "I'll text you the address." Marcus's house was small. Single-story beige stucco, a front yard full of desert plants that required no watering. Exactly what Sarah would have expected. She knocked at 6:29. Emma answered wearing an apron that said "Kiss the Cook" with a cartoon chef. "You're on time," Emma said approvingly. "Dad's always on time, too. It's like a disease." Marcus appeared behind her. "It's called punctuality, and it's a virtue." "It's boring," Emma countered. But she was grinning. The house was neat but lived in. Photographs on the refrigerator, a schedule pinned to a bulletin board, homework on the kitchen table, a pair of work boots by the back door, and everywhere small signs of Margaret. A throw blanket on the couch in colors Marcus probably wouldn't have chosen. Framed artwork that looked handmade. A coffee mug with "World's Best Mom" in fading letters that no one had thrown away. Sarah understood. You didn't erase someone who'd been loved. Dinner was chaotic and wonderful. Emma's creative interpretation involved adding hot dogs to the spaghetti sauce and using way too much garlic. It shouldn't have worked, but somehow it did. They ate at the kitchen table. Emma told stories about school with the dramatic flair of someone who believed every detail mattered. Marcus added quiet commentary. Sarah laughed more than she had in months. After dinner, Emma asked if Sarah wanted to see her room. The walls were purple. Posters of cats and butterflies competed for space. Books stacked everywhere. A desk covered in art supplies. And on the nightstand a framed photograph. A woman with dark hair and warm eyes holding a baby. Margaret and Emma. Emma saw Sarah looking at it. "That's my mom," she said simply. "She died when I was 1. I don't really remember her, but Dad tells me stories. She was beautiful." "Yeah." Emma picked up the frame, studied it. "Dad said she would have liked you because you tell the truth, even when it's hard." Sarah's eyes burned. "That's very kind." Emma set the photo down carefully. "Do you have a mom?" "I do. She lives in Tucson. We don't talk much." "Why not?" "We had a disagreement. About my job. About the choices I made." Emma nodded seriously. "Sometimes people who love you don't understand you. My teacher says that's normal." "Your teacher sounds wise." "She's okay. She gives too much homework, though." They went back downstairs. Marcus was loading the dishwasher. "I should go," Sarah said. "Let you guys finish your evening." "You don't have to," Marcus said. "We usually watch a movie on Friday nights. You're welcome to stay." Sarah looked at Emma, who nodded enthusiastically. "Okay, what are we watching?" Emma's Choice tonight. They ended up watching an animated movie about a girl and her dragon. Sarah sat on one end of the couch, Marcus on the other. Emma in the middle, gradually migrating until she was leaning against Sarah's shoulder. Halfway through the movie, Emma fell asleep. Marcus gently lifted her and carried her to bed. Sarah heard their voices muffled through walls. The nighttime routine of a father and daughter who'd done this 1,000 times. When Marcus came back, he sat down with 2 glasses of water. "She doesn't usually fall asleep that fast," he said. "She must feel safe with you." "I'm glad." They sat in the semi-darkness, the movie's credits rolling silently. "Sarah," Marcus said, "can I ask you something?" "Of course." "What are you looking for here with us?" Sarah took a breath. The question deserved honesty. "I don't know," she said. "I just know that when I'm here with you and Emma, I feel like maybe I can be someone better than the person who put handcuffs on you. Maybe I can be someone who deserves a second chance." Marcus was quiet for a moment. "You already are that person. You proved it." "Then I guess I'm looking for people who can see that, who can see past the uniform and the mistake and just see me." "We see you," Marcus said softly. "Emma talks about you constantly, asks when you're coming over, wants to show you everything." He paused. "And I think about you more than I probably should." Sarah's heart stopped, started again. "I think about you too." They looked at each other in the dim light from the television. Marcus reached out slowly, gave her time to pull away. She didn't. His hand found hers. Rough skin, calluses from years of work. Warm. They sat like that until the automatic shut-off timer turned the TV dark. "Stay," Marcus whispered. "Just on the couch. I'm not—" "It's not, I know." Sarah squeezed his hand. "I'll stay." He brought her a blanket and a pillow, checked the locks, turned off lights. Before he went to his room, he stopped by the couch. "Thank you," he said, "for being here, for giving us a chance. Thank you for letting me." Sarah lay in the darkness and listened to the house settle. Somewhere down the hall, Emma turned over in her sleep. Further away, Marcus's door clicked shut. For the first time in months, Sarah felt like maybe she was exactly where she was supposed to be. She fell asleep with the pocket watch's steady ticking in her memory, counting seconds toward something that looked like forgiveness. 6 months changed everything and nothing. Sarah started her new position on a Monday in March. Community Relations Officer. The badge felt lighter in her hand. Different weight, different meaning. Her new office was smaller, no window, but the work was different too. Better in ways she hadn't expected. She taught middle schoolers about their rights, not from a textbook but from experience. She told them about the arrest, about following orders without thinking, about the courage it takes to admit you were wrong. They listened in a way teenagers rarely did, asked hard questions, challenged her, made her better. One girl, 13 with braces and attitude, raised her hand after class. "My mom says cops never admit mistakes." "Your mom's right. Most don't." Sarah met her eyes. "That's why it matters when we do." The girl nodded slowly. Something shifted in her expression. Not trust yet, but possibility. Sarah went home that day feeling like maybe she'd done something that mattered. Marcus got a promotion in April. Senior Facilities Director, significant raise, corner office, direct report to the CEO. He turned it down. His boss called him in confused. "Chen, this is what you've been working toward. Why say no?" Marcus explained about Emma, about school pickup, about promises made to a 10-year-old who'd already lost too much. "The hours don't work for my daughter's schedule," he said simply. "So, it's not the right fit." His boss tried negotiating. Flexible hours, work-from-home options, company car. Marcus thanked him and declined. That evening he told Sarah about it over dinner. "You could have taken it," she said. "Found a way to make it work." "Maybe. But why would I—" Marcus cut vegetables for the salad. Precise movements. "I already have what matters. Good work, time with Emma, and—" he glanced at Sarah, smiled slightly, "and you." Emma walked in carrying plates. "Are you guys being mushy again because we have a no-mush policy before dinner?" "Sorry, kiddo." "No, you're not." But Emma was grinning. They ate together, the three of them. Like they did most nights now. Sarah kept clothes at Marcus's house, a drawer in his dresser, toothbrush by the sink, her coffee mug in the cabinet next to his. Small invasions that felt like belonging. Emma had started calling her Sarah instead of Detective Walsh. Not Mom. Neither of them pushed for that. But the way Emma said her name, casual and warm, felt like family anyway. One Saturday in May, they cooked breakfast together. Emma was in charge of the pancakes. Sarah handled bacon. Marcus supervised and made coffee. "More chocolate chips," Emma demanded, wielding the spatula like a weapon. "You're going to get a sugar high," Marcus warned. "That's the point, Dad." Sarah laughed and added more chocolate chips. They ate on the back porch. Morning sun already hot. Birds loud in the desert quiet. Emma finished first and ran inside to get ready for her friend's birthday party. Marcus and Sarah sat in the stillness. "This is good," Sarah said softly. "Yeah." Marcus reached for her hand. "It is. I keep waiting for it to feel wrong, like I don't deserve this." "You do." "How do you know?" Marcus turned to face her. "Because I see how Emma looks at you. How she lights up when you walk in. How she asks for you when you're not here." He paused. "And because I know what it's like to lose someone. I wouldn't risk letting Emma get attached if I thought you were going to leave." Sarah's throat tightened. "I'm not going anywhere." "Good." He leaned in slowly, giving her time. Always giving her time. Their lips met. Soft. Tentative at first. Then deeper. His hand on her face. Her fingers in his hair. Tasting like coffee and morning and possibility. When they pulled apart, Emma was standing in the doorway. Ugh, gross. But she was smiling. "Sarah, can you braid my hair?" Sarah stood face flushed. "Of course." She followed Emma inside, leaving Marcus on the porch with a smile he couldn't quite hide. The months rolled forward in a rhythm that felt like breathing. Tuesday evenings at the Botanical Garden. Friday movie nights. Sunday morning pancakes. Emma's soccer games. Parent-teacher conferences where Sarah sat beside Marcus and nobody questioned whether she belonged there. Sarah's mother called in June. First time in 8 months. "I saw the news," she said. "About the trial. Vance got 15 years. I know. Your father would have been ashamed of what you did." Sarah took a breath. Let it out. "Maybe, but I'm not. You destroyed your career for a stranger. I did the right thing for someone who deserved it, and he's not a stranger anymore." Silence on the line. "Are you happy, Sarah?" The question surprised her. "Yes, I am." "Then I suppose that's what matters." Her mother's voice softened. "Your father and I didn't always agree either, but we loved each other anyway." It wasn't forgiveness. Not quite, but it was a door opening. Thanks, Mom. After they hung up, Sarah sat with the phone in her hand. Marcus found her on the couch. Everything okay? Yeah? Just talking to my mother. How'd that go? Better than expected. Sarah leaned against him. She asked if I was happy. What did you tell her? The truth. Marcus kissed her temple. Good. Emma ran in with a book. Sarah, can you read to me before bed? Of course. The three of them piled on the couch, Emma between them. Sarah reading about dragons and magic while Emma's eyes grew heavy. When she finally fell asleep, Marcus carried her to bed. Sarah stayed on the couch looking at the photos on the wall. Marcus and Emma. Emma as a baby. Margaret holding her newborn daughter with exhausted joy. Marcus came back and sat beside her. She'll always be part of this, Sarah said, gesturing to Margaret's photo. I know. Is that okay? More than okay. She made you who you are. She gave you Emma. I wouldn't want to erase that. Marcus pulled her close. I love you. Sarah's breath caught. First time he'd said it. I love you too. They sat in the quiet house and held each other while the desert night settled around them. The morning started like most mornings now. Sarah woke in Marcus's bed at 6:15. He was already up. She heard water running in the bathroom, smelled coffee starting to brew. She got dressed, jeans and a t-shirt. Work didn't start until 9. In the kitchen, she found 2 mugs waiting. She poured coffee. Black. No sugar. The way they both liked it. Marcus came in wearing work clothes, gray pants, company shirt with his name embroidered on the pocket. Morning, he said. Morning. He kissed her, tasted like toothpaste and coffee. She never got tired of it. Emma up yet? I heard movement. She'll be down soon. They moved around the kitchen and practiced choreography. Sarah started eggs. Marcus made toast. The coffee maker hissed and dripped. Footsteps on the stairs. Emma appeared in pajama pants and an oversized shirt hair wild from sleep. Is it Tuesday? She asked, rubbing her eyes. Wednesday, Marcus said. Okay, just checking. Emma grabbed juice from the fridge. We have a math test today. You ready for it? Yeah, Sarah helped me study. Marcus looked at Sarah with warmth in his eyes. Did she now? Don't act surprised, Dad. She's good at math. They sat at the table, ate breakfast, talked about the day ahead. Emma had soccer practice after school. Marcus had a site inspection at 3. Sarah had a community meeting at 4. Normal, ordinary, perfect. Emma finished her eggs and stood. I'm going to brush my teeth. Don't forget your backpack, Marcus called. I won't. Geez, I'm 10, not 5. After she left, Sarah sipped her coffee and smiled. What? Marcus asked. This. All of it. I never thought I'd have this. Have what? A family. Marcus reached across the table, took her hand. You do now. Emma came back down backpack, on hair brush looking far more awake. Ready? Marcus asked. Yep. Sarah, are you coming to my game on Saturday? Wouldn't miss it. Good. Because Megan's mom brings orange slices and they're way better than the ones Dad brings. Hey, Marcus protested. My orange slices are fine. They're okay. Megan's are better. They all walked to the door. Marcus grabbed his keys. Sarah picked up her bag. Outside, the morning was already heating up. Phoenix in September. The tail end of summer holding on. The school bus rumbled down the street right on time. Emma ran toward it, then stopped, turned back. See you at 3:15. Marcus and Sarah answered together. We'll be there. Emma grinned and climbed on the bus, found a seat by the window, waved as the bus pulled away. They stood on the curb watching until it disappeared around the corner. She's really okay with this, Sarah said. With us? Yeah. How do you know? Marcus smiled. Because last week she asked when you were moving in. Sarah's heart stopped. What? She said, and I quote, Sarah's here all the time anyway. She should just bring all her stuff and stay. What did you tell her? I told her it was complicated, that adults have to make those decisions together. He turned to face Sarah. But she's not wrong. You're here all the time. Is that bad? No? Marcus pulled out his pocket watch. The silver caught the light. Remember what this says? He opened it. Showed her the inscription Margaret had written a decade ago. Time is the only gift that matters. Sarah read the words worn but still visible. I've spent 10 years being careful with my time, Marcus said. Making sure every minute counted. Never being late. Never breaking promises. He closed the watch. The click echoed in the quiet street. But I realized something. Time isn't just about being on time. It's about who you spend it with. He looked at her, really looked. I want to spend mine with you, Sarah. All of it, not just mornings and weekends, all of it. Sarah's eyes filled. Are you asking me to move in? I'm asking you to stay. Permanently. She couldn't speak, could only nod. Marcus pulled her close, kissed her. Longer this time, deeper, a promise. When they finally pulled apart, the sun was climbing higher. The street was empty, just the two of them and the sound of distant traffic. I love you, Sarah whispered. I love you too. They walked back toward the house hand in hand. Marcus checked his watch one more time. 7:52 a.m., exactly on schedule. He smiled and slipped it back in his pocket. The watch kept ticking, steady, reliable, counting down to 3:15 like it had for 10 years. But now Sarah would be there too, waiting on the curb beside Marcus when Emma's bus pulled up. Part of the promise, part of the family. The morning light caught the edge of Marcus's house. Golden, warm. The same desert sun that had witnessed the arrest 6 months ago now witnessed something else. Two people who'd met in the worst possible way, finding the best possible ending. Not because the past didn't matter, but because they'd chosen to build something better from the wreckage. Sarah squeezed Marcus's hand. He squeezed back. They walked inside together. Behind them, the Phoenix sky burned bright and endless. Another day beginning. Another chance to keep the promises that mattered. The door closed softly. Inside, 2 coffee mugs sat on the counter. Still warm. Still waiting. Time kept moving forward. And for the first time in a long time that felt exactly right. If this story reminded you that second chances are real, that courage matters, and that broken things can be made whole, let me know in the comments. What would you have done in Sarah's position? Would you have stayed silent or spoken up? And if you believe that doing the right thing is always worth it, even when it costs everything, make sure you're subscribed so you never miss stories like this. Hit that like button if you want to see more stories about redemption justice and the kind of love that's built on truth instead of perfection.